Let's look at a couple of these. This is your homework for today, okay, which you should finish in class if you're working on it. Again, if you have different colored pens, it's great. Let's do this top inequality in red. It crosses at 1. You go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and you use that pattern backwards to extend it all the way through. So you ask yourself, is this red line going to be solid or dotted? What do you guys say? Solid or dotted? Dotted, because it does not have a solid line underneath it. So go ahead and put some extra dots between the dots. It's a dotted line. I either shade in below or above. So would I shade in below or above? Below, because it's less than. So let's shade in below. Now again, don't get crazy on the shading. I would just draw some light lines coming out of the other line that we already graphed. Okay? Now here's the hard part, ignoring that graph and pretending it's not there and graphing the other one. The other one crosses at -2, put a dot at -2. The other one has the slope up 3 over 1, so let's go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Put a dot right there. Continue to go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Use the pattern backwards. This one is going to be a solid line because it does have a solid line underneath the inequality. So again, you're ignoring the red. Just pretend that the blue line is the only thing you have right now. Now we either need to shade in up here on the blue line or down here on the blue line. So are we going to shade in above or below? Above. So let's shade in above. And again, don't get crazy with the shade. Just go a line. Lines coming out of your blue line. And now what you really want to shade in or highlight or whatever you want to, how you want to represent it, is the overlap piece, right? So you don't want to show this blue part up here. You definitely don't want to show that. You don't want to show this red. This is the only thing that really matters. So this is what we're going to overlap. If you have a highlighter, go ahead and highlight it. Different colored pen, go ahead and do a different colored pen. But there's your answer. And again, this side right here is solid. But as you go this way, it becomes dotted. So that's your answer right there. All right, let's do a couple more. You guys are going to do the rest, but I'll do a couple more with you. Number 2, remember y equals mx plus b is what you need. And there really is a b value right there. It's a 0. It crosses at 0. You go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Use that pattern backwards. Then ask yourself, is this a solid line or a dotted line? Dotted. Okay, so let's put some dots between the dots. Dot, dot. Now, we need a shade either above this red dotted line or below this red dotted line. What do you guys say using the shortcut? Below, right? So let's shade in down here and go lightly shade, lightly shade. Don't get crazy with the shade because you have to pretend that this is not even here when you graph the other equation in blue. It will get kind of confusing or hard to see if you're using just one colored pen, right? But anyway, let's graph this one in blue. Now that's just y and a number. So you go to your y-axis, you go to the number, you draw a horizontal line right through it. It crosses the y-axis at 1. It's going to be a horizontal line right through it. And you do want to extend it from one side to the other. And it is a solid line because there's a solid line underneath the inequality. So you'd have a solid line right here in blue, going from one side all the way to the other. And you need to shade in either above the blue line or below the blue line. So what are you going to shade in? Above, because this is a greater than. Using the shortcut, greater than is above. So you're going to shade in up here. Light shade, obviously. Light shade. Now what do you want to really represent? The overlap piece. What's the overlap piece? It's right here. This little triangle that has this side being solid and this side being dotted. So I believe on the midterm exam, they only show this little triangle with a solid line and a dotted line. I don't think they show any of this other stuff. But again, the solution to a system is the answers that they share, okay? So right here we have this area. What does that mean? If I pick any coordinate in here, it'll work both for the top inequality and the bottom inequality, okay? Now there are some that are even weirder. Number 10 is weird. Let's take a look at number 10. The top equation is already in slope-intercept form. It's ready to graph, so it crosses. Let me do this one in red. It crosses at -2. It goes up 2 over 1, 2, 3. I could use that pattern backwards to extend it in the other direction, down 2 over 1, 2, 3 in the other direction. This is going to be a solid line because the inequality has a solid line underneath it. So you draw that solid line right there, and you're either going to shade in above or below. What do you guys say? Above? So let's shade in above. Lightly, don't get crazy with the shade, because we need to ignore it right now and graph the other one. The other one's not ready to graph yet. So I must divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. I'll end up with y is less than 2/3 x plus 1. So this one crosses at 1. Put a dot at 1. It's kind of hard if you already shaded that in a lot. And you're going to go up 2 over 3. You're going to use the pattern backwards. Down 2 over 3 in the other direction. And this one is going to be a dotted line, because the inequality does not have a solid line underneath it. So ignoring the red and looking at the blue, is this going to be, am I going to shade in above or below? What do you say, Lexi?
You're going to shade below.
Why?
Because it's less than.
Thank you very much. Shade in below because it's less than. So when you shade in below, it's over here. Now what do you want to represent? The overlap piece. So the overlap piece is going to be this funky area right here in the middle. So it'd be solid on this side. It'd be dotted on this side with the area being shaded in the middle. Okay, so that's kind of weird. But all that means is that any coordinate within this area will be a solution to both. Let's look at another weird one, number 11. They're both ready to graph. Let's graph the top one in red. Crosses at -2. I go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Pattern backwards. This is a dotted line because there's no line underneath the inequality, so it's not a solid line. It's dotted. Now, before we do the other one, let's shade. Do I want to shade in above this red line or below this red line? Below. Now, let me just review one more time. What you're supposed to really do is plug in the 0, 0, which is clearly over here, right? Now when you test 0 for x, 0 for y, it'll say 0 is less than -2, and that's false. 0 is not less than -2. 0 is greater than any negative number. So this does not work, so you'd have to shade in the other side. But the shortcut says, oh, it's less than, that would be below. Okay, so let's shade in below. Again, a light shade, because you really want to shade in the overlap. Now you go for the other one. The other one crosses at 1, crosses right here at 1. Let me erase well, I can't. Let's just leave it like that. My slope is up 3 over 1 as well. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. And going backwards with that pattern, down 3 over 1. And this is a solid line right here. Whoops, I messed up. Down 3 over 1 would be right here. So I either need to shade in the left upper part of this blue line or below the right part of this blue line. So what do you guys say, above or below? Above. Above. So when you shade in that part, you end up with this. So what's the correct answer to number 11? The correct answer would be to state no solution. Why is that? They will never intersect. They're parallel, and which means they're never going to overlap. So right here, it's important to say no solution. Okay. So the rest are pretty straightforward. I'm not going to do the rest, but the answers are provided for you in color on Edmodo. Okay. Or you could take a picture of them right there, but that's black and white on the wall right there. So you could take a picture of them in class or get the colored version of it, which I recommend on Edmodo.